Hi, welcome back. I'm Chris Sikora, and I'm going to step you through AutoCAD 2021. We're going to do actually some surfacing today, and that model that you see there we're going to construct and show you some tips and techniques. So let's begin, and this is exercise 9 in the training guide. Start off, go to New. Oh, by the way, let me just go over the model here. Some of the things you're going to see here are, we're going to learn how to do a loft. We're also going to learn how to loft this like interesting surface contour through here. We're going to cut in a handle. We're going to put in a generic top. It's nothing more than just a cylinder on the top. But this is a collection of surfaces. And question sometimes comes up, can you use the surfaces to export for a printed part or CNC? And that's absolutely true. You can. Some of the softwares that are out there that slice, they will actually try and knit this into a polygon mesh or STL file. So let's begin. Go to New, AutoCAD 3D, hit OK. And as always, I like to go to Wireframe, Home, and then Top. And we're going to draw the bottom of the bottle first. Now, turn on your snaps and zoom out a bit. And now we could go ahead and find the Spline Tool. Now, actually, just to ensure that you get the proper one, go to Surface, and we're going to use the CV spline, which is Control Vertices. And this is what you would want to use for something like this, okay? Because it does make a very nice, generates a very nice bottle. Now zoom out enough to where we're below the Y here in the negative direction, about 2. See, it says -2 and it's snapping. Click and drag it over about 1.5. Click and drag it directly above here, so polar is 2 inches and 90 degrees. Click, and then bring it up here, and let's see, we'll actually have it go to right about there, and then straight down. Click, so we're snapping. And it doesn't have to be exactly like mine, by the way. It could look a little different. Now right mouse button click, right click for that last one. I clicked left once, and then right mouse button click, and just hit enter. All right. Now, there are a couple ways to make this. Since it's a surface model, we could actually just make 1/2. I like to do 2/2 just from the standpoint, after teaching this over so many years and making this model, that students really get a nice look at what the whole bottle looks like versus half. And we just need 1/2. We'll mirror it over later, but I'll mirror it over now too, just for technique purposes. So let's go home, and we'll go down here to Modify and find Mirror Tool. Select the geometry, and then let it hit Enter, and then snap to this point down here, and then to the origin, just click and hit No. All right. Now this bottle is going to be a little different than the one I designed earlier. That one I designed earlier was a little more narrow. I think instead of going out 1.5, I only went out like 1 inch. So it's a little bit, which would make it 2 inches in width overall once it's mirrored. So this might look a little different. Might not even look quite as nice. But now that we have that, let's go to the Home button. And let's switch from world coordinates to right. And let's go to the bottom button here. All right, now we're going to draw the profile of the bottle. And we're going to go up about 2 3/4 up here of the major grid spacing. So let's go to Spline and let it snap right over here on the endpoint. Click, drag it up about 2.5 right here. Click, and then you could start bringing it in. And this is going to have a subtle curve to it. And we'll bring it up to about 4 right there. Click. And now right click and enter. Now later on you could go back and modify this if you like. Now let's hit enter again. It should bring back the spline tool. And let's snap to this one and bring this up about 2.5 and then dart it in a little bit deeper, like see where I am right about there, and then bring it up where it's even at polar 2, click, and then right click and enter. So we have a little bit of a curvature going on there. A little different than the last one, but still will be interesting. Now let's go back to isometric. And I'm going to go ahead, hit escape, and join these two. Now again, we technically could probably do just one, but let's join it. And here's join. Select both entities, hit enter so it's one continuous. Now what I'm going to do here, and there's other methods of doing this, I'm going to use this method that will just be able to show you what I'm doing rather than just not seeing what's happening, because there's going to be a curve on top of a curve if we do it another way. But go to move, click on that curve, hit enter, and then right at this point here, this endpoint, click, and then just drag it to the right, click, and oh, you know what? Control Z. I'm sorry, I wanted to copy, not Control Z is undo. Let's go back to copy. I'm sorry, I wanted to copy it. I didn't want to do that. So let's click on this, hit enter, and then let's click on that point and drag it over here, click, and then hit escape. So we have a duplicate. Now what you're going to see, and there's probably other ways to do this, but anyhow, we're going to shrink this down. We're going to scale it down for the top portion because this is going to be a loft. So click on this model. And let's go to, under Modify, find a, not a line, I'm sorry. Yes, it is a line. My apologies there. It's a line. And now there's a 2D and a 3D, but this align down here does 2D and 3D. Let's select that curve, hit enter. Now select this point here. Now, well, we don't need to have the points turn on there. Let's just click there, and then click on this one here. And now go down here to this corner, click, and click on this one up here. Hit enter. And scale object based on alignment? Yes. So click on the yes. Now see how it moved it up there. Now we could go back to move, click on this, hit enter, find that point there and drag it back to this point here. Click. And so now we have two sides. And again, there's other ways to do that. If you want to share a way down below in the comments, by all means, it'd be appreciated, because anyway, there's multiple techniques. All right, now that we have that done, now we're going to go ahead and loft this. And we're going to loft it actually as a solid. And that's going to allow us to put some fillets in on it pretty easily. So go to loft, so select this geometry here, hit enter. Sorry, let's go back to loft there. Click on this, and then this top one here, hit enter, and now you'll see enter an option. We want guides. Click on this here, and this guide over here, and hit enter. Now it looks strange, but watch this go to shade gray. And now we can actually see our bottle. Let's go ahead and put a fillet on the bottom. Now go to solid and go to fillet edge. Now here's the thing, there's something called blends as well. And when you have a surface model, you can do blends. And I've tried it on this one, and I haven't been too successful, and it might be due to the geometry conditions, I'm suspecting. So these are not what they call G2 curvature continuity fillets here, but there is a capability built into here that should allow that. Let's go to radius, and let's set it to 0.25, enter. Now go ahead and select that bottom edge, and hit enter, and enter. All right, now let's go to the front, or actually the bottom, and rotate 90 degrees. And we're going to put in a feature here a slope feature that goes down in this direction. So with that, let's go to Home, and let's find the spline again. And you don't need to have the actual snaps on necessarily, as long as you stay away from any sort of geometry there. Okay, I'm going to drag it up like this, and then around, like, get up a little higher, click, and then right click, enter. Now I'm going to select that, and see this ball right here? Click on that. You could drag it up to give it more of a rounded shape. And now if you click on this one, we could drag it down a little bit more. And then we could grab this and bring it up a little bit closer to the top. Oops. Click. Because we're going to use that to shave this. All right, hit escape, rotate it, and make sure it's not 3D. It should just be a 2D curve. If you do have difficulty where it's actually starting to curve like that, you won't be able to extrude it. So I would recommend you going back to the snap-on mode to smooth it out. Just delete it, draw a new one. All right, now let's go to press pull. Select that, drag it this way, select that end there, drag it that way. Hit escape, and let's merge those two. So go to the union tool, select both entities, hit enter. Now they're just one, hit escape. All right, we're going to use this to trim. And at this point, let's just, we'll go to split right here. Now there is a trim tool as well, but we'll use slice. You can see how that works. Okay, select the object we want to slice, hit enter, and then select surface and click on this. And now we get to select what we want to keep. So just click on this surface here, and look at that. It's now a nice surface. We could click on this. You can either save it or delete it. And I'm going to get rid of that too. Now we could go and put a fillet on there. So go to solid, fillet, and go to radius, and we'll put like a 0.125 radius. And enter, enter. Okay, so our bottle is starting to have an interesting shape. Now we want to put in here a handle section and have it kind of slope in really nice and smooth. Okay, so and before we do that, what we want to do is cut this in half. We're going to actually use the slice again. Okay, and we're going to select this body, hit enter, and then we want 3 points, and turn on your grid. And if you just snap the grid, I should say. 1, 2, 3, and enter. I'll keep both sides. All right, so now it's split into 2. Now the reason why we did that is because the sweep that we're going to create, or actually loft that we're going to create, it only does one side. And that's why I was saying you really only need 1/2 of this, and then you can model it and mirror it, make it. So technically, if we want, we could delete that side. All right. And I'm going to go ahead, and now I'm going to change this into surfaces. So I'm going to go modify and explode it. So go to explode, select the model, hit enter. Now it's a collection of surfaces. We don't need this back surface, so you could click on that and hit delete. You can see it's hollowed out now. All right. So technically we could have done this from the very start with 1/2, but there is some security in making it smooth on both ends. So by the way we're doing it, I don't necessarily know if we need to do that though. All right, let's go to left, and we could go back to 2D wireframe. And we're going to use the Spline Tool again. And you could turn off that snaps. And we want to come off here, and we'll follow this through. And we'll have it come off like that. Then right-click, enter. All right, so we have that curve there. And you could offset this, I suppose, if you wanted to. I like to give it a little bit more whimsical appearance. So I'm going to go ahead and draw another one where it changes a bit in size as we go down. Okay, now I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to bring this in a little bit more. Okay, I kind of like that. All right, now I'm going to hit escape. And let's go back to shaded. And we'll extrude this. And again, there's other trim tools that will enable you to do this a little bit easier. But I'm just going about it this way. This is a way I know that works. But it is fun to experiment. All right, now that we have that, we could go, and we'll use actually the trim tool this time. So go to Surface, and there you'll find Trim. There's the blend tool I was telling you about, and I actually, I've used it in under certain circumstances. It makes a nice smooth transition versus a radius, but we won't be doing that. All right, so select surfaces or regions to trim. So let's click on this, hit enter. Select cutting curves or surfaces. So that and that. Hit enter. And select area to trim. I suppose we want the inside. There we go. All right, and hit escape. Now you could delete these or save them. Some people put them on different layers. Oh, Control Z. You know what? It's actually dependent on that. So there is actually turn off surface associativity. I think that might allow us to delete it. Ah, no. Control Z. All right, let's use the trim to trim the rest of it up. So let's see. That's probably the issue with using the trim tool to some extent, but I guess, let's see if it could. Oh, look at that. It didn't split it up into different entities. Oh, you know what? We could just go to Home, and we should be able to explode this. Ah, there's still associativity. Interesting. I don't usually do it this route. I've never taken it using the trim. I'm going to Control Z back. So I'm just holding Control Z, which is undo, until we get back to this. There we go. And I'm going to use a split instead because that seems to broker a much easier method. So let's go to Slice. All right, Object to Slice. That's what we want. Hit Enter. And select Surface. Okay, and that didn't do what I, Control Z there, escape. I think I had that surface pre-selected there. If that happens, you click on it and then hit escape. Let's try that again. All right, so Slice, select Object to Slice. We want this, enter. Go to Surface. Like that. Let's just do one at a time. Keep both. All right. I took care of that one. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the other one. So we'll hit Enter again. Select this part. Hit Enter, and then select Surface again. And then this lower surface. And hit and keep both sides. All right, because we could just go ahead and delete it. And now the associativity is gone. And we could delete that too. We could get rid of this. So the trim tool has associativity where if you delete the actual feature, it the cut feature, it actually comes back. So in this case, I didn't want that. But in some cases, that's really useful. It's pretty neat. It's kind of like that associativity can be useful for changing it. All right, now that we have this, let's go to the bottom and use this tool again, the spline. Zoom up here, snap to this point here, drag it in a little bit, and then this point here, and then right click, enter. Let's do the same over here. So enter, select that point, have it go in a little bit, and then select this point, and then right click, enter. Now what we have to do is we have to extract edges off of these this geometry here. So let's go ahead and find, we have to go to the solid, extract edges, and go to the filter, and we only want to capture edges. So select edges, select this edge here, and hit enter, enter again, and select this edge here, enter. All right, and then we should now be able to sweep our geometry, or not sweep it, but loft it. So go to loft. Now notice I'm using the solid loft. You can use the solid loft in this release, and as long as it's not a closed knit geometry, it will make a surface. Okay, select this and select this. Hit enter and then use guides. Select this guide here and this guide here and hit enter. Okay, and in this case it said it wasn't valid, so that's okay. I've run into this before. Actually on the last one it didn't work, but I had one that it did work on. So it must just be the geometry conditions that it's not liking. Let's see here. It doesn't look all that complex, but the other thing that what I ended up using, I went to the surfaces here and I used patch. Let's go to surface patch. All right, and we'll do curves. Now it doesn't come out quite as nice, but it still looked pretty decent. So we'll just go ahead and select these curves here and hit enter. And you can see it's generating this. Now there's continuity and bulge magnitude. There's some settings in here. We're just going to hit enter, and that's it. And so it gives us a little bit of an indented geometry, which you do have ability to modify that. Like there was that bulge curvature. Feel free to tinker with that. But I kind of like how this is. It's a little bit more on the subtle side. That's still going to show up on the model. So it has some nice curvature. And now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and go to the bottom again, and we want to put a handle in here. Now I was surprised because normally I draw in a kind of a unique handle, but I ended up using an ellipse, which normally I don't like to use such simplistic geometry, but it actually looked pretty good. So I'm going to go to the 2D wireframe, and inside here, click. Oh, let's hit enter again. Right about there, click. And we're going to drag this off. A little bit of a tilt there. And then just like that, not too close. All right, now we could shades of gray, and then I'll just extrude that, press pull, drag it through, hit escape. Now here's what we're going to use, the trim tool, because this should work out for us pretty well. Let's try it. All right, so select the surfaces or regions to trim. Okay, so we want this to trim. Hit enter. Select cutting surface, hit enter. And then, let's see, did it take care of it? Oh, you know what? I just realized that's not a surface. Let's go to home and explode that. Okay. And we could delete the ends. All right, let's test this now. Okay, we want to trim this. Enter. Select this. Enter. Select the area to trim. There. Okay. And there's our opening. Now we could hit enter again. Let's trim this off of here. So select surfaces or regions to trim. It will be this. Enter. Select cutting curves, surface, hit enter. And then we want this to be gone. All right, so there you have it. And now if it were a solid, we could put a blend in on there, or feature, but the blend here, like I said, I've had some difficulty with that, but I'm sure if you did it correctly, you could get it to work eventually. But I'm gonna leave this just like that. Now I'm gonna mirror everything over to the other side. So let's go to solid, actually home, and there's mirror solid. Just select everything, enter, and now 3 points, and this is where I'd recommend turning this on the snap mode. Oh, didn't take, let's do that again. There we go. 1, 2, 3. And delete no. And there we have it. Okay, so we added a little indented feature that goes around. And now to add the neck of the bottle. Let's, and this is just for aesthetics. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the bottom. And I'm going to use the rectangle tool. Actually, use the line tool. And turn it back to 2D wireframe. I'm going to snap right about there, drag out a rectangle, like about that big. Okay, why didn't that take? Let's try that again. It's because it's trying to snap to other entities. All right, let's turn the snap on and see if we could get a snap point. There we go. And we'll make it, let's see here, the height 0.75. And then, oh, that's not doing what I was hoping. I actually hit escape. Let's turn off that snap. I'm not sure why that didn't take that first time. That's kind of odd. Oh, and you know what? We have to turn off all the snaps. So turn off snap cursor. There we go. All right. And we could put in specific values. I'm just eyeballing this one here, about 0.3-ish. Okay, and then we could turn back on those snaps. And I convert to this, or actually just go back to the rectangle tool. Put this on here. Now let's just do this as a revolve. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Revolve. Select the polygon. Hit enter, select that point, and that point. Hit enter. It should go 360 by default. And let's take a look at what we've got there. Let's shade it. Okay. And so you could see, It's not the best looking bottle, I'll just admit, but you could tinker around and make it look pretty darn classy. And that's about it for this exercise. Now, if you wanted to 3D print this, I believe it would work because it's a collection of surfaces. And it is kind of watertight at this point. So if we go to Export, Other Formats, you would be able to select lithography. That's one of the most common ones out there, but there's other ones too, specifically for 3D printing. But the lithography setting is going to give you the ability to output a nice polygonal model. And like if some of the slice softwares out there for 3D printing actually will automatically have the bounding boxes set correctly and the surface is set to normal where they're all on the outside, and you'll be in good shape. All right, well, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that exercise.